Hello and welcome to Africa Update on Trust TV, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And this week, we're still talking Ghana as the elections starts today, and of course, other happenings on the continent. Just stay with us, we'll be right back. You're still on to Africa Update on Trust Television, and I'm your host, Chiamaka. Nwafor. Now, the Ghana 2024 election starts today, and as expected with elections, the atmosphere is charged. The Electoral Commission put in last-minute touches to preparations, the registered citizens getting ready to cast their votes, security operatives positioning themselves to maintain law and order, and of course, party agents making sure their candidates get their votes, and of course, the fourth estate, that's the journalists, the media, doing its best to keep us informed and abreast with happenings. And on that note, joining me to give us updates on what's happening in Ghana is Umaru Sanda Amadu, is a journalist with Channel 1 TV in Ghana. Umaru, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update today.
Thank you so much. It's actually good morning here in Ghana, and we're grateful that you are interested in our election. This will be our ninth election, and I'm reporting to you from some 30 minutes from the national capital, Accra, in a town known as Afienya. It's a very small polling station.
All right, I can see that you're on ground already. And I know when we spoke earlier, I think 2 days back, we talked about the special voting and how you didn't get to do the special voting this year due to certain irregularities, and you have to vote with every other person. So have you voted finally? All right, we'll get back to that. Now, of course, as you know, for the elections in Ghana, over 18 million people, registered voters, are expected to vote today in the elections. Now, these elections are general elections. They're mostly for the presidential and the parliamentary. And we have two major contenders. Bawumia, who is the current vice president under the NPP party, and former President John Mahama, Dramini Mahama, trying to come back again, and under the NDC party. Now, what do those two people have to offer us? What do they have to offer? Actually, Ghanaians, really, and all that. Umaru is supposed to be giving us, updates on that. And, to give you an insight of the contestants for this election, John Dramani Mahama was the former president from 2012 to 2017 and the candidate for the opposition National Democratic Congress. Now, he secured his party's nomination with an overwhelming majority. Now, here's the one that Nana Akufo-Addo, took over from and became the president. Nana Akufo-Addo has done his 2 terms. He's now out, and Bawumia, his vice president, is now coming in to run for presidency. Now, Bawumia is in the new ruling party, the National People's Front, NPP. Now, away from just the presidential elections, we have the parliamentary elections. About over 250 seats are going to be vied for as well in these elections. Now, I said that there are 2 major contenders. Of course, there are other parties running for the presidential election as well in Ghana. Now, it's good to have Umaru back with us. Umaru? Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So I'm like I said, I'm coming to you from this polling station at Afienya, where the voting process is happening. And there's actually 2 polling stations at the same center. And so at the back, you see polling agents. These represent political parties and other independent candidates in the election. Their duty is to ensure that the data that the Electoral Commission is working on is properly clarified. So they sit and observe. They're almost like observers, but they're part of the team. But if you came to the center, this gentleman here checks your details, and then a ballot paper is issued to you. We have a very long ballot paper. This gentleman has been issued his ballot paper. You follow him. He goes to the polling booth, which is a secret place. Of course, no one sees what he's going to do, but he opens a ballot paper. He prints the desired candidates, and there are 13 photographs on the presidential ballot, one of them deceased. So after casting the ballot, which is what he's doing now, this lady has also been given the ballot to go. So we have a parliamentary ballot, and then we have a presidential ballot. That's what happens. The ballot, you're issued one at a time. After you vote, you put it inside the box. Now, this gentleman has finished doing his own, and he dumps that ballot paper in there, and then this other person will pick up. So that's essentially what the process is, but it's a very slow process. We also have security personnel. So the gentleman you see there is with the Ghana Fire Service. Usually during our elections, the police are the ones who coordinate security, but they also invite the police, the immigration service, the Ghana Fire Service, and the armed forces sometimes to help. Let me speak to the presiding officer of this particular center. Hello, sir. You are welcome to Akare. This is I'm actually reporting for Trust TV in Nigeria, Abuja, and they want to know how our process has been going so far. So you are the presiding officer here. How many people are supposed to show up for at your center, and how has the process been so far?
Number of voters registered 398. These are the number of people who are supposed to come at this police station.
Okay, just give me a. Let me take that again. So, what is your name, first of all, and what's the name of this polling station?
My name is Godwin Mensah. The name of my police station is Youth Leadership Training Kenya.
Okay. How many people are you expecting to vote here, and how many have voted so far?
398 are supposed to vote here. And so far, about 150 have voted.
I see.
Yes.
Has there been any issue with any of the voting so far?
No. There's no issue.
There's no issue. Yeah. Talk to us about what happens for those who are not familiar with our process. At what time do you close shop here?
We start at 7 a.m. and close at 5 p.m.
So at 5 p.m., what do you
5
do?
p.m. we done.
So what do you happens at 5 p.m.?
5 p.m. we have to bring ourselves together, and then the tables and everything, bring it together. Then we do the sorting. First with the presidential. After sorting, then each candidate and the number of votes obtained. Then when we are done with the presidential, then we go to parliamentary. We do the same. And that's it.
Okay. Chiamaka, so you've heard the answers from the presiding officer here. Do you have any questions for him before I move to other people?
Well, Mario, you've actually done quite a good job of asking him questions. Thank you so much to the presiding officer. Now, basically...
So like I said, these are the polling agents, and they represent the interested parties in the election. Can you give me a wave if everything is okay? All right, sure. So it shows that everything is fine here. And then there's another polling station at the back, but it's pretty much a very less busy polling station, unlike other parts of the national capital. Indeed, even though this town has so many polling stations, so this is just one of the many polling stations that I am reporting to you from Chiamaka.
All right, now. Okay, so I'm going to come back to you, Umaru. Earlier when we spoke a few minutes back, you mentioned about special voting and how journalists and security operatives had to do special voting. I wouldn't know if you've been able to the fire service special voting. That's if it was
if you could ask that question again, I didn't hear you.
We're talking about the special voting. We're going back to the special voting. You were supposed to vote at that time, but you couldn't. So now, have you voted?
Yes, indeed. So we're supposed to, as part of the special persons who are allowed to vote ahead of time, where the media joins the security operatives, the electoral commission staff to do what we call special voting. Unfortunately, at the time, the electoral commission could not process some of us to vote. So I've had to take part in the general mass voting that everybody is doing. So I don't know if you can see my pinky there. Yeah. That's the indelible ink on my pinky that shows that I've actually cast my ballot, which means I cannot cast my ballot. And trust me, this ink, based on what I know, will take a few weeks before you can even wash it off. So yes, I've cast my ballot in my own village of Asuchari Junction, which is in the Shai Osudoku constituency. And so I went to the periphery part of Accra. I'm now returning to the national capital and then continue with this broadcast. It's going to be a very long day for us because 18 million people are on the register. So we do not expect all 18 million people to vote, but at least 16 million people would vote. Now that will take a lot of sorting, a lot of counting, a lot of tabulation and calculation before we know eventually who the winner is. So we expect the winner maybe to be declared in 3 days from now or 2 days from now. Okay. However, when it comes to members of parliament, by this time tomorrow, we should have a fair understanding of who has won where and what our parliamentary makeup is going to look like. Currently, our parliament is 137 for NPP, 137 for NDC. They've divided it into halves. We want to see what happens this election, whether It's going to be the same thing, or one party is going to have a majority.
Okay, now let's go back to the election process. Your experience at the polling station. Now, can you tell us about it? Were the queues well managed? One, were you able to cast your vote without any technical issues or delays? And for people living with disabilities, was the election, the polling unit, the polling area, were they able to access or been able to vote or cast their vote?
Well, so what happens with our voting centers or polling stations is that, and over the period, and people keep doing that, and I'm surprised even as early as 2 a.m., 12 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., people woke up and went to the voting centers and placed obstacles. So some people put stones, some people put jerry cans, some people put chairs at the place to form a queue because polls or voting starts at 7. But people go to queue early enough so that people woke up at dawn, went to put those items and went back to sleep. In the morning when they come, that chair or that stone represents their voting or their slot in the queue. So they come and then replace that. And after that, they can vote early and either go to work, because today is not a holiday. Yesterday was a holiday. Today is a Saturday, all right. But people still have to go to the market. People have to go do their own business. People have to travel. So people come and queue early. Where I went to vote, crowd management is good because there's a security personnel at every polling station. They ensure orderliness. The Electoral Commission staff ensure there's orderliness, and the voting process proceeds as smoothly as it can. And so people are voting simultaneously across the country. The presidential candidates, the major ones, have already cast their ballot. There have been heavy media presence in all voting centers. Things have been generally okay. There may be a few issues here and there of electoral material arriving late. We've had reports here and there of electoral material arriving late, but soon enough, electoral materials are brought in. And what the Electoral Commission has done is that no polling station would have more than 750 voters. Now, what that means is that between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., the highest number that will show up at a polling station will be 750, which means there can be no way the 750 people will fail to vote during that period. Now, even if all 750 people showed up, you expect that they should be able to vote. And if electoral material delay, and they even comes with 3 hours to time, that will be 10 a.m. Between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m., you should be able to have everybody show up and everybody vote. And it's been practically an easy process so far. We have a biometric verification system. So when you show up, you produce your voter ID card. If you do not have it, you mention your name, you look through the register, your name is found. You use your finger to verify because they are biometric verification devices that we use. And if I was closer there, I could have shown you. That device determines whether you're qualified to vote or not. And if your name is in there, you are pretty much easy and ready to go. And then they issue you with that very long ballot paper so that you can go ahead and cast your ballot.
All right, so tomorrow now, let's look at certain issues. Now, you've been around the other polling units prior to now. What can you tell us in terms of security? How have the security operatives, been at those things? Have you heard of any incidences of maybe outcries, or rather maybe violence, fighting at polling stations?
So far, nothing. Even though in our second biggest city, Kumasi, there's a report about some confrontation at one voting center where a parliamentary candidate in the election decided to join the queue like every regular person and vote. But that became a bit controversial and conspicuous because he was trying to also convince people in the queue to vote for him. So that has happened. One other area where an electoral commission officer was arrested for issuing more than enough ballot papers to one person. That's also one report that we are receiving, which we are yet to authenticate. So a few reports will come here and there, but so far there hasn't been any major thing that I would say has really become a blot on this our election. Our biometric devices would generally have been the problem, but from what I have seen so far, and everything we have reported so far, it has not been a problem. Everything is pretty much a very good exercise so far that we have here.
All right, now let's go to the contestants. Has there been any news about them going to the polls to equally exercise their franchise and vote. That's, I mean, of course, two major contestants really. That is for the NPP, Bawumia, and Mahama for the NDC.
If you could say that, I didn't get your question.
Two major contestants that were looking at for the presidential poll. That is for the Bawumia for NPP and then Mahama for NDC. Have they been able to pass their vote at their polling units?
Well, so this what happens. The two of them are both from the northern part of the country, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the John Dramani Mahama. They are both from the northern part of the country. Dr. Bawumia of the governing party this morning cast his ballot in his hometown of Waliwali, which is a constituency in the northeast region of Ghana. He has done that already. Former President John Mahama, though, is yet to cast his ballot as I'm picking the intel coming through, because he's also way out of Accra. What they do is that they go back to their home regions, go and cast their ballot. So imagine a presidential candidate moving from Lagos to go and vote in Katsina State or in Gombe State, for instance, and then return. They would go by air and land and then take a car to continue to their place, which means they have to travel perhaps another hour or so, or 2 hours to their home regions away from the national airport. So those are the kind of things that we have here. That's what we are witnessing here. So far, one of them has voted, at least based on what I have seen. The other one is yet to vote. However, there are several other presidential candidates, like I said to you. There are 12 of them, all expected.
All right, now, in your going around and doing your job as a journalist, were you able to speak to other electorates, and what did they tell you about their experiences and their reasons at times for their vote?
Yes, I did. I spoke to people who have been queuing to vote. The anticipation is very high. And now what happens is that there are laws. You're not supposed to declare your vote to anybody, either at the voting center or whatsoever. At least not supposed to tell anybody else what your vote is. It's supposed to be secret voting. And that secret voting is what people have been exercising. And so if you notice how the ballot booths are even positioned and the ballot boxes are positioned, you cannot see who has voted for who. The ballot paper, when it is given to the electorate, is actually folded and given to them, and then they show up and vote. I've spoken to voters who have exercised interest. I'm going to wait for this lady who has just finished voting. She's going to vote. I'm going to ask her to talk to me about the process. If you could just wait with me. What she's doing now is a thumb printing, and when she's done with the thumb printing, she will go and dump it there. Hello, madam. Can I speak to you briefly about how the exercise has been? Can I talk to you? Okay. How was the exercise? How was the voting like? It was not stressful. Are you from this part of the town? Why did you wait till this time to come and vote? Why didn't you? You were busy with something. What happens next? Are you going to stay here and wait till the evening, or you'll go home and you'll go home? Very well. Thank you so much. So there you have it. She said that it was not very stressful. Let me wait for this man who is also casting his ballot. He's elderly looking. I'm going to approach him. Sir, before you go for your parliamentary paper, can I just ask you how the process was? Was it okay? How was the voting process? It was okay? Okay. Very well. So he's fine. He's going for his parliamentary ballot paper, which is the next process that was being folded neatly and given to him as an agent.
Why
yes,
this process? Why this process? Why not just give them both ballot papers? They go do it and just drop it. Why go first, come back, then go again?
Well, we do not give both ballot papers to the voter because there are two separate elections. Some people may decide, I don't want to vote for a parliamentary candidate, or I don't want to vote for an MP. Some may also decide, I don't want to vote for the president. So you don't force them to take a ballot paper for what they do not want to vote in. So if you notice, there are two votes. This is for the presidential, that is for the parliamentary. You may decide to waive this one and go and do the second one, or you may decide to do both. And again, if they should be giving you two ballot papers, that would be a very, very clumsy exercise, and nobody wants to have that on their hand. And that is why they go through the process that they are going through. So as you can see, she has taken a ballot paper. She is going to go do the thumb printing. We have an indelible ink that is put on your finger, but they also give you the ink in the voting booth. You finish voting, you fold it neatly as you have been told, fold it, and it's a very long ballot paper, and you dump it in there. And then you return to take the one for parliamentary, which will be given to you, which has been issued there now by the voting officers. and then you go to vote.
All right, Umar Sanda Amadou, it's been a pleasure having you joining us on Africa Update today, giving us an update on what's happening in Ghana on Elections Day. Of course, it's the elections for the presidential and parliamentary elections in Ghana. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you.
Hopefully, we will circle back later to know how it's been at the end of the day. That was Umar Sanda in Afienya in Ghana, just 30 minutes away from the national capital of Accra, and he's been giving us insights on how the elections are happening and taking place in Ghana. When we come back from the break, we'll look at what's happening with the World AIDS Day over in Zambia. Just stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still on to Africa Update on Trust TV. Now let's get to Zambia, where an education and prevention program known as the Total Control of the Epidemic Project is focused on ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. Kati Short reports from Petoeke, Zambia for the VOA.
Losi Zulu has been living with HIV/AIDS for 5 years, one of an estimated 1.3 million Zambians living with the disease. But she's getting help from the global NGO Humana People to People program, a project that is working with communities here to fight HIV/AIDS, malaria and tuberculosis. Zulu got pregnant after testing positive for HIV, but her son is HIV negative. She credits medical interventions that help mothers access life-saving antiretroviral drugs or ARVs to prevent mother-to-child HIV transmission.
I have been living like this for 3 years, almost 4 years. So we go together with my husband to collect our medication. We take PrEP and ARVs together. So I'm very happy we are still together.
Zulu's husband, Joseph Banda, is HIV negative. He takes pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP, a medication that reduces infection from HIV, the virus causing AIDS. Zulu and Banda are what is known as a discordant couple, where one partner is HIV negative while the other is HIV positive.
My wife takes antiretroviral drugs to protect her from transmitting the HIV virus. She has to continue taking this medicine.
Margaret Zulu is a field officer at Development Aid from People to People in Zambia, or DAP, helping clients around the community to ensure that they are consistent in taking their medicines. She says field officers and community health workers visit people living with HIV who fell out of treatment to re-engage them and help them form small HIV treatment adherence support groups known as trios.
This program of TCE epidemic control has helped people to have knowledge about HIV, about prevention measures, what to do if we have tested negative, what step they can do, or how they can live positive life when we find the discordant couple.
Mwamba Chunda works as an HIV focal point person with the Ministry of Health at Petoeke District Hospital, helping HIV positive people adhere to their treatments.
We used to lose a lot of clients on treatment. You know, when you share someone on treatment, within a short period of time, they are lost. But we're engaging the community.
The project involves traditional leaders like village headman Yora Mwanza to raise awareness in communities about HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment programs run by DAP.
We started going door to door telling those who didn't attend the meetings that DAP has got this very good program and we should benefit from it because what we are learning is prolonging our lives, a good life.
DAP Zambia is implementing the Total Control of the Epidemic Project and Education and Prevention Program. Elisa Sorensen is its managing director.
We are still saying putting people first. And the slogan in the TC program is that only the people themselves can eliminate themselves from the TB and HIV epidemics.
The UN's bottom-up approach, combined with high-quality health services, aims to make Zambia reach the ambitious goal set by the UN of no new HIV infections, zero AIDS-related deaths, and zero stigma and discrimination by 2030.
And that's the much we have for you on Africa Update this week. And it's been quite a very interesting, educating one for us on the program. I hope you've learned and seen how the electoral process works in Ghana. So I see you same place, same time next week. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms for more news, programs, and documentaries. I am Chiamaka, Nwafor. Bye for now.